Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm back. We're here for another reality recap. I'm absolutely April, and if you're not new here, welcome back to my channel. But if you are new here, thank you for coming in and watching my video. I do reality shows. I review reality shows, give my reaction on them. I also talk about movies that I enjoy. Anything that I pretty much am passionate about. I'm coming here because I like to talk to my tribe. So if you can get with my vibe, you might as well go ahead and subscribe to my channel. Hit the like button if you get anything out of my content. Smash the notification bell so you'll be notified about all of my uploads. And if you know another Married at First Sight fan, bring them on into the crew. Share this video with them. I love to get all feedback. We don't have to agree, but we must be respectful in the comments. So, nevertheless, let's get on into. We're still on season 16. We're in Nashville. We're on episode 9, Partying Ways. I got some thoughts, y'all. Um, right out the gate, I'm going to ask, what do you rate this episode? And I'm starting off rating this episode because I've been hearing some comments that they feel like this season is a bit boring. So I like to get your feedback. What do you think about this season of Married at First Sight? Is it boring? Is it better than last season? I personally feel like it's a little bit better than last season because last season was a train wreck. But this season, it's just a smidget better to me, a smidget better. Um, I don't know. I think Married at First Sight is kind of losing its luster. I think they need to get back to how it was in the beginning and making meaningful couples and not trying to get a wow factor. So I don't know if anything with the production has changed or the editing, but I do know that it's now an hour and a half versus 2 hours, which I do enjoy. However, we still need some good content because these couples don't seem like they like each other. What y'all think? I'm not seeing any promise for really any of the couples. One of them maybe, but there really isn't too much promise for any of the couples. But let's get on into the episode. Like I said, I got some thoughts. So we're on day 12 of marriage. And Dom and McKinley, they're still sitting on the couch talking about their marriage. And Dominique is basically saying she's over it. And Pastor Cal is pressing her to find out, like, what do you mean you're over it? What do you mean you're over it? And she's just like, well, I'm just over it. I'm just over it. And this is indicating how Dominique may not be the best person for this show. I don't think she was mature enough for this show yet because she can't even kind of describe why she's over it. So after much pushing from Pastor Cal, she was like, I want a divorce. So, McKinley says, it was definitely tough to hear her say that she wants a divorce. So, Pastor Cal, after she says that, Pastor Cal was just like, look, girl, don't rush into getting no other relationships because you need to take time to get to know yourself. And maybe you were perhaps too young for the show. Ding, ding, ding. Why did y'all get her anyway? I don't know why y'all thought that she was going to be a good candidate for the show. I mean, number one, being 25, she's not that long out of college. Number two, it's just like 25 is a bit young. Maybe if she was on the other end of 25, maybe closer to 30, but no, maybe they need Married at First Sight needs to talk about the ages that they get because I just don't think, and then because of the age gap between McKinley and Dominique, that was a bit much as well. So Pastor Cal said, he feels like her age could have been a factor and he wants her to, go out there, experience life, get some wisdom, and then maybe entertain marriage. But Dominique is hard-headed. She is hard headed. Like my grandma always said, a hard head make a soft behind. She's hard headed because she thinks she's mature. She feels like she's an old soul. And I don't know if she feels like she's an old soul just because she goes fishing and, and does a lot of kickback, adventurous stuff, laid back stuff that maybe she thinks 25-year-olds don't usually do. But your mentality, Dominique, your mentality is not there. So, McKinley, he's saying that, in his confessional, he's embarrassed, he's disappointed, and at this point, because I don't know if y'all remember, on the after party, he said his mom offered him $50,000 not to do this. I'm pretty sure he's kicking himself in the behind and saying, I should have took that $50,000 and saved myself the embarrassment. Mama knows, McKinley, Mama knows. This was not. I mean, and honestly, I don't really think it's his fault. All the way is he just got matched poorly, and they need to just grant him an annulment. I think that Married at First Sight shouldn't even let the divorce be on his record, he or Dominique's record, because Dominique's mom put her in this process. So that was already one red flag. She didn't do it herself. Her mom put her in this process. So that in her age just was not a good candidate. But again, y'all trying to make a show, and this is what y'all got. So I really feel like my heart goes out to McKinley about it. But at the same time, you ain't had no house. And I get it, but I feel like you moved down here just for the show. And I guess you were kind of taking a risk and, putting all your eggs in one basket and feeling like it was going to work out and you and your wife are going to ride off into the sunset and get something, get your own, establish your own stuff. So I get it. It's just unfortunate. Like in the words of Clint, it's an unfortunate turn of events. So Dominique ends up apologizing to McKinley, and McKinley ain't trying to hear all of that. So, McKinley says he's over it, and he just finishes off his wine. He's just over this whole process at this point. So we're at day 14 of marriage. Eris and Jasmine, are walking their dog, and Eris seems to be warming up to her dog Duchess. So Shaquille is fixing Kirsten's tire. She has some type of a flat, so Shaquille is fixing it. So that's very manly of Shaquille and taking ownership and helping out his wife in a time of need. So maybe that'll help some of the people out here who think that maybe Shaquille is a little bit too feminine or leans towards his feminine side. He can get his hands dirty. He is taking care of her tire. So that's a good thing. Gina is at her salon. She got the salon cameo. So she's at her salon and she says she's going to move into the shared apartment with Clint. So Clint tells us he's playing frisbee and he's telling his friends about the challenges, of not having much physical attraction for Gina, and she don't have physical attraction for him. So they trying to move over this hurdle. So they're trying to get through it. Clint's friends kind of recognizing like, yeah, that's a lot of pressure to try to make a marriage work, and under these circumstances when you don't have that type of attraction. So basically, I feel like he's saying, my heart goes out to you. He didn't give much advice, but, it is what it is. So Clint thinks the physical attraction will still be a problem in the end. And I'm pretty sure it is what it is. You like what you like, and that's not what you have in your spouse at this point, but you can work through it. I feel like you can work through it. But Clint does make mention that it's funny that her dog has the same hair color as he does, and she doesn't like gingers, so to speak. And I said that last episode, y'all, when I reviewed, I was like, I feel like Hank and Clint kind of resemble. They got the same hair color. Like Hank looks more like he would be Clint's dog. I don't know. That's how I feel. So Eris, Eris meets with his cousin Felina. And y'all remember Felina from, what was it? Whew. Felina, it was, around the first few episodes where, she was trying to get Eris not to do the whole married at first sight scenario. So he meets up with Felina, and I don't know why, for the life of me, you're going to go get advice for someone who does not even agree with what you're doing. She does not really care for your wife. Why would you go with someone who's not going to be as objective as they need to be? So, nevertheless, Aries is meeting with Felina, and he's saying he's trying to navigate on not being attracted to Jasmine. And he was like, she likes me. Aries gonna always say that Jasmine like him more than he like her. And I don't know if he gets like, if that makes him feel good or something, but he's always bringing it up that Jasmine likes him more than he likes her, and that's just something that they have to deal with. So Felina says, attraction doesn't have to always be physical, but Aries was like, well, she wants somebody, every wife wants somebody, their husband want to tear their clothes off, and that's what she said, and I'm physical too. It's just like when I come home, I just get in the bed and go to sleep. Aries, I don't even think you trying at this point, but he did, admit that, because of the fact that he's not that physically attracted to Jasmine, that he kind of has a wall up and he's not really being vulnerable. So Felina just was like, look, how does she feel about that? And he was like, she handled it, like she very mature, like a woman, and and she just said she wants me to be more attracted to her and stuff. And Felina, the hater that she is, the one that does not like to wear a bra as she is, she hated and said that textbook, and just feels like Jasmine doesn't give her true feelings. If she doesn't like something, she needs to say it. And Jasmine does speak up for herself. She does speak up for herself, but I do feel like she does appease Aries at times. So I see both ways, but I feel like Felina just did not want to like Jasmine. She could have been perfect, but Felina was going to find some issue with Jasmine, and it's just not fair to Jasmine at all. She don't even give Jasmine a chance. She's just going off with, she giving pageant answers. She's giving, manufactured answers and stuff like that. And I think Jasmine is aware of the camera. She's aware of the situation, and she wants to put herself in the best light as possible. So yeah, she is kind of more, thinking about what she says, but I feel like it's coming from her heart. I feel like she wants to convey and communicate as best as she can, because she knows from the past she has not always been the best communicator. But Aries always seems to have to bring up that he's not attracted to her and blah, blah, blah. So I feel like at this point, Jasmine is just annoyed. Um, so Aries ends up inviting Felina to the housewarming party. Felina rejects the offer. She was like, I don't want to come. I'm not trying to go somewhere where I know that it's not going to last. I'm not going to get invested in it. So I'm glad you and your bad energy, Felina, is not coming to her housewarming party, because you should not come there if you are not in the best spirits, or if you have some type of negativity towards this couple. Only good energy should be coming towards the couple, giving Aries good advice. So, her advice to Aries was like, look, she asked him, does he want to be married? And he says he does. And she was like, well, go home and have sex with your wife. Jasmine does not want pity sex, ma'am. She does not want pity sex. And if he's not into it, then why should, don't do it. I don't want nobody who just come like, come on here, lay down. Nobody wants nothing like that. Nobody wants that. And maybe that's what you want, Felina, but that's not what Jasmine wants. And especially that's what she confirmed that on the after show with Keisha Knight Pulliam. She does not want, she wants her man to want her. And if he don't want her, then okay. But I'm not going to sit up here and just say, just have sex with me because, I want to have sex. So, but I did agree with Felina. Two things could be right. You could be right and you could be wrong. So that can, she's right in an instance where she's like, if you're going to be married, you need to put forth the effort and be married. I do agree with that sentiment. If you're going to, say you want to be married, then put forth the effort. If not, just piss or get off the pot. Basically, don't sit up here and waste everybody's time and have people getting invested into Jasmine and liking her when you're not going to even put forth the effort. So that, I do agree with Felina. Two things could be true. You're a hater, but you did give good advice at the end. Moving on, so we have Nicole and her friend. She is her friend, I think it was Julianne or something like that, Julie. They go out and Nicole says that, Chris compliments her all the time. She likes it. She said, had it not been for this process and she met Chris, that kind of would have been a turnoff and she would have ran for the hills because she would have just been like, he's too nice. What's wrong with him? So it's forcing her to, move through that and embrace all the compliments that Chris gives her. However, she just doesn't want Chris to appease her. She doesn't want Chris to just tell her things that, just that he feels like that's what she wants to hear. She wants him to mean it. And again, this is all a trauma response from her past relationships that, just did not give her the words of affirmation and feeling like she meant something to them. So although I do believe that Chris appeases her, but I think he does feel like that. But I also feel like maybe she's feeling that way because she's getting a vibe from Chris that it may not be all genuine. We see in the previews that he, said, she's a little thicker than what he would normally date. And I'm like, Chris, you ain't learned from Clint. Why would you say that? So he puts his foot in his mouth just like Clint did. But I just feel like something with Chris just kind of rubs me the wrong way. One of the facts is that he did not really compromise with the whole dog situation, but at the same time, I do feel like he's kind of, faking the funk. And I guess in this situation, sometimes you do have to fake it to make it and try to, get to that point where you are comfortable enough to be, your authentic self. Um, she worries. Nicole is worrying that she's going to eventually do something to turn Chris off, and she feels like she's just such this. She feels like she would just overpower him. She says, "I'm a lot." And I don't feel like you are a lot, Nicole. And I just feel like I want you to be yourself, Nicole. Like I feel like she's walking on eggshells for Chris because she doesn't want to do something that might trigger him and make him bolt. And if he's that easy to bolt, then you don't need him, honey. You don't need him. It's just I feel like she's so scared of somebody walking away from her again, and she's doing whatever she can and bending over backwards to make sure that Chris, feels good. Like I feel like she overcorrected with the whole dog situation, and it's just like she's trying to kind of put up this facade, but you're eventually going to show who you are with Chris. And you might as well let him, slowly take the mask down. Slowly take the mask down so he can see who you are. And if he don't want to be with you, then he does not want to be with you. And you will be okay. And you will find that person who will love you, flaws and all. So moving on. Julianne says she feels Nicole is more vulnerable now that she's been married, but she doesn't want her to lose herself and try to overcompensate just to make the marriage work, which I feel like that's what she's doing at this point. So Gina ends up moving into the apartment with Clint. So they're in separate rooms. Gina's in one room, Clint in the other. So I don't know if y'all can see it. Let me see if I can make it a little bit bigger. Y'all look at Hank. Don't he look like his owner would be Clint versus Gina? I mean, he looks just like Clint, and this in the cutest way, and I mean this in the thing in the best way possible. Like he really, I think him and Clint are going to end up loving each other. Gina and Clint may not, but I really think that Clint and Hank they're gonna be partners. They are going to be partners. Moving on from Clint and Gina, so Jasmine arrives from walking a dog, and little Duchess, and Eris is like, "Hey." I was like, can you say hey a little bit more enthusiastic? Like, that you're happy to see me. Like, come on now, Eris. So Eris is, he was making the guest list, and has an issue with Jasmine not wanting to fight, to invite Felina. And it flashes back to them making their guest list for the housewarming party. And Jasmine is saying who she's inviting. She said, "Now, who are you inviting?" He said, "Well, Felina." And she's like, You must not want me to be there then. Because, of course, Felina don't like Jasmine. And she said all types of things, basically calling Jasmine fake. Now you want her to be in Jasmine's space. And she said, that's not, she didn't want to invite Felina because of how, Felina treated her. And I don't blame Jasmine. So Eric says, he went ahead and invited Felina, but she ended up declining. Let's just stop here for 1.2 seconds. That right there shows me how selfish Eris is. If your wife says that she does not want someone in her house, you need to respect that. And vice versa. If you didn't want someone in your house, she shouldn't be inviting anyone that you don't want into your house. So you went ahead and negated what Jasmine felt and how she felt about Felina being in her space. You went on and invited her anyway and didn't even give her the heads up like, you know what, I'm just going to go ahead and do it. You didn't do that, Eris. You just went on and took it upon yourself, which is very selfish. You don't care anything about how Jasmine feels, but she takes in consideration how you feel all the time. She always rubbing on you, feeding you, giving you stuff, and affirming you. I mean, you can't even reciprocate how she feels, how her feelings about your cousin who is being negative towards her. Like, Eris, I cannot. So Era says that, Felina declined and, she didn't want to come because she doesn't feel, she's still negative and feels some type of way about the situation. And she was like, the feeling is mutual. Yes, Jasmine, don't let her try to punk you. So, Eris is like, well, Felina got a strong personality and she stands 10 toes down in what she believes. And, and then he kind of made a mention that, well, you do say some, he didn't say it like this, but he basically said that, Jasmine does say things that sound manufactured and stuff. So I'm like, so now you're going to side with your cousin and say that Jasmine ain't being authentic and she is being fake? Like, I don't like that. I don't like that. Felina in this Eris relationship is going to be an issue. It's going to be an ongoing issue because I don't see Felina relenting. She's going to feel how she feels, and she's not going to come up off of that. So the couples get ready for that housewarming parties. Nicole and Chris, they are having a flamingo-inspired housewarming party. It's supposed to be like tropical theme. It's called the Flamingo. And they all came from Nicole. That definitely sounds like a Nicole type thing. So Nicole asked, what's his name? Chris, about wearing shirts. So she bought them like flamingo shirts to wear as a gag. They were cheesy shirts, but she thought it would just get a laugh out of people. So she's asking him, does he want to wear the shirt? And he's like, yeah, I'll wear it. But she was like, but do you want to? If you don't want to, then I don't, want you to wear something you don't want to wear. He's like, well, I'll wear it. She was like, do you really want to wear the shirt? He was like, no, not really. But, he was like, no, she was like, so do you want to wear it? They're going back and forth with this whole thing. And now he eventually says, no, I really don't want to wear it. So she says that she's happy that he, stood in how he believed instead of just appeasing her and wearing the shirt. So they decided not to go ahead and wear the ugly shirts because they are very, very much so ugly shirts. You can't wear it to a Christmas party because it's not an ugly sweater, but you could those are definitely some ugly shirts. I don't know where she can find those shirts, but so he says no, and they kind of moved on, and they're gonna wear what they want to wear. So Kirsten and Shaquille chose to invite married couples to their housewarming parties so they can kind of pick their brain, which is very good because you like to get, when you're a newly married couple, you want to surround yourself with other healthy married couples so that you can bounce ideas, bounce scenarios off each other and just get some good sound advice. Now, if you got a friend that, somebody's cheating, they don't really care. If y'all not, trying to go in the same direction with your marriage, I wouldn't advise getting those type of couples, but some, couples who are very healthy and want to be married, I totally agree with Kirsten and Shaquille to want to pick their brains. So, they talked about the honeymoon and, how Kirsten says it was romantic. They went ATVing and stuff like that. So they asked, kind of beating around the bush, trying to figure out if they had relations with each other. So, Shaquille just kind of said, so you asking if we had sex? And so, they said no, that did not go down. So one of the couples, I believe it was on Kirsten's side, was like, I'm not getting no kissing vibes either. So I don't know if if he just didn't, if Kirsten told him she wasn't kissing, or if he really didn't pick up any kissing vibes. So they said, Kirsten was like, well, I'm not a good kisser. Kirsten, please find another excuse. It's not. It takes nothing to kiss someone. If the moment, if it's like in the moment and y'all are kind of being like romantic, or doing, maybe snuggling up on the couch watching a movie, you might want to have a little smooch just to see where it goes. It doesn't have to mean you have to tongue him down or anything. Like, I don't know. It just doesn't seem like, you never know. He might have some skills, and it might awaken some other things, Kirsten. But she says she's not a kisser, and so her cousin was like, let he said, well, how about you let Shaquille be the judge of that? You just saying you're not a good kisser, and Shaquille ain't even tested out to see if that is the case. But I'm pretty sure Shaquille would love to kiss his wife eventually. I mean, they've been married for like 12, 13 days at this point. So Kirsten, says she's trying to allow the intimacy to grow with them. Shaquille is worried that he's being too patient, and I think that he is. Kirsten's side, side of the family told them to, you will have to kind of make a move, and they even talked about how. I believe that was Shaquille's side. This was very interesting that they started out as friends, and they had no attraction towards each other. And it was until I think one day when they started kind of spending more time together, they started noticing each other, and the relationship grew from there. So they did start out as friends. So it was a lot of encouragement these couples were giving Kirsten and Shaquille. I feel like Shaquille kind of needs to kind of move forward with this relationship, kind of like move things along and help Kirsten to get more comfortable. But he also, I don't want him to overstep any boundaries, but maybe start out with a nice massage and, kind of loosen her up a little bit and see where it could go. Find out what things that she likes and what turns her on, and, maybe something romantic, something that would kind of get the juices flowing for Kirsten and kind of try to get the ball rolling with the intimacy. But Kirsten is very aware that she's kind of, put the brakes on. And I feel like if nobody makes a move, it's just going to be stuck in this whole no kissing zone, but I'll rub your bald head type thing. I don't know. But so now we're back at Nicole and Chris's housewarming party, the flamingo party. And Nicole's friends tell Chris, not to let Nicole bully him and stuff like that, but she is not bullying him at all. I feel like he's the one kind of, manipulating her, because I think he knows that she's kind of like trying to hold back a little bit because she doesn't want to run him off. So he's kind of manipulating the situation, in my opinion. But that's just, is what it is. So all the friends are getting acquainted, they said a friend named Devontae was going to be arriving, and I was like, he got to be black, because I don't know too many too many other people named Devontae. So Devontae eventually arrives late, but he arrived just in time to question, Nicole, ask questions to Nicole, and he asked a little bit about the struggles, and she was like, well, she just doesn't want Chris to always appease her. She wants Chris to, be upfront and assertive with what he wants, and don't let her kind of run over him. She doesn't want to find out that he's secretly miserable, in the end. And I can understand that a person who doesn't communicate how they feel and just kind of like, let things go. Like, I would rather know how you feel. I wouldn't want to be blindsided. So I see what Nicole is saying in that instance, but I still want her to stop being so self-deprecating, because I feel like she's always putting out like, I'm this, I'm that, or I can go off, I can spaz out, and you probably can, Nicole, but stop just always putting out the negative like Lindy did last season, where she's always saying, I can go there, I can get tick tick boom. So once she did, I mean, it kind of put Miguel on edge, like, when is it about to happen? When is it about to happen? Like, is she about to go off? And it was just kind of like, just experience each other and be yourselves and see where it goes. If Chris doesn't like it, then yes, Chris should speak up. But I would rather you be who you are versus, you know, months down the line, you get comfortable after the cameras leave, and then Chris is like, "Oh, I don't like you," and now what? You made it this far for what? So Nicole's friend advises Chris, to speak up for himself and don't let her bully, and she's not. Um, I just wish they would stop, bringing that up about Nicole. I really think that they get moved forward. They have now moved out of the talking about exit zones. Now they're always talking about pleasing each other, and Nicole going, spazzing out. Chris says he hasn't seen it yet. He'll see how he deals with it once it happens, if it happens. So now Eris and Jasmine, they're having their housewarming party, and they're talking, and um, Eris, proceeds to tell his friends. I wish I had a picture of Eris's friends. They walked in really looking like Keisha and I Pulliam calling Mario and Luigi. They had these hats on, these matching hats on. They definitely looked like Mario and Luigi. I thought that was hilarious. I don't know if they were trying to market maybe they have a brand together, or one of them have a brand, and they were trying to market it, but I feel like that's what they were doing, was some type of form of marketing on this show. And Eris probably, that's why they got invited to the housewarming, and that's what they did. But nevertheless, Eris, decides to tell his friends that, Jasmine got like 4 dogs. And I think they talked about, Duchess. I think they started, when Aunt Pat, Jasmine aunt, asked Eris how he feels about Duchess and stuff, and he was like, brought up the fact that Jasmine has 4 dogs. Jasmine then went on and said like she used to sleep with her 4 dogs in the same bed, and Eris like, in your bed, and she was like, yeah, I was single. Why wouldn't I have him in my bed? Now I get it. I'm just not the dog on the bed type girl, but I get someone who's like that, and they just, they don't mind their dogs being on their bed. For me, it's a no. I like my space, and I don't want a dog up under me like that. I just wouldn't want to. But that seemed to kind of be a turn off for Eris, I'm assuming. So, Aunt Pat, she's gonna take up for Jasmine. She was like, well, what's the problem? And so, Eric's friend was like, moving on from once they moved on from the dog situation, Eric's friend asked about what some of the struggles, and Eric says, that they're both not the best communicators. I'm kind of glad he brought a communication versus the attraction thing, because I don't think Eris was ready for the smoke from Jasmine's side. But I'm pretty sure Jasmine is tired of having to, it gotta mess with you a little bit that my husband keeps saying that I'm not, he's not attracted to me. He's not attracted to me. And I feel like I'm glad he brought up the communication, but the real issue is the attraction. And so he says, he brings up the situation between his cousin Felina and her, and he said, she texted him and said that, she didn't want Felina at the house. But sir, and Jasmine, you should have corrected him when y'all were making the list. You said no to Felina right then. You said, well, you must don't want me there. So maybe, he was looking for you to say, no, I prefer her not to be there, versus, you must don't want me there, trying to make that little remark. But I feel like she said in a way, I feel like she said no. And so I guess she ended up texting him again and saying that she would prefer Felina not being there. But it didn't stop Eris anyway, because he went on and invited Felina against her wishes regardless. He took no regard of how she felt anyway, because Eris is selfish. So Aunt Pat ends up saying, "Well, show me around the house." So they go, and Eris takes Aunt Pat to their bedroom, and Aunt Pat. She gets comfortable. She lays out on the bed. Jasmine's sister is like kind of laughing at her aunt. This is the aunt that's off the chain, and she has no boundaries. I can definitely tell. I love Aunt Pat. I love Jasmine family. So she let me see. Aunt Pat asked, how he would feel if she ended up getting rid of her dogs. He said that would be great. That would be great if she got rid of her dogs. He said outside of Duchess, all the rest of them could go. So she was like, what? So I don't know how they're getting on this whole situation about the dogs. I don't see Jasmine getting rid of her dogs. Definitely not now, but I think if they have a big enough space, I don't think the dogs would be that big of an issue unless they're like rambunctious and all over the place. Kind of like how Chris's dog is humping all over the place. I can see that could be, a little bit much for somebody who's not a really big dog person. So Eris's friend asked Jasmine, what about her concerns? And she was like, well, she says this basically the sex is concerned. She said he doesn't want to have sex with her. And even though he's a sexual person, he doesn't want to have sex with her. And so that's a big issue. Now, I don't know why Jasmine is talking about their sex life to Eris's friends. I would think you would keep that for like girlfriends. I don't know why she felt so comfortable talking to these guys about Eris not wanting to have sex with them. And they kind of were making like a little face. I don't know if they were kind of like, I don't want to talk about this with you type thing. So, and you know what? My grandma always said, she said, you don't really want to talk about your sex life to, with friends or anything like that, because it could go one or two ways. If it's good, it could go where your friends want to figure out, like find out for themselves, like really how good is it? And then another thing, if it's bad, it's kind of like y'all are the butt of the jokes. Like, girl, I know you ain't getting that. So I don't know why Jasmine decided to bring this up with his friends. But Aunt Pat does end up, flashing back, going back to Aunt Pat and Eris. She does end up, telling him like, you need to put in the effort with Jasmine. If you're gonna do this, you need to make sure you're putting in the effort. And Eris said he's gonna try and see where it goes, honey. At this point, I think Eris is just staying on the show just to stay on the show. He ain't doing the Dominique. He's not gonna just make a split decision. I just feel like he's going to just cut his lock. He's going to, I don't know if he's gonna make it through decision day with her. I don't see it happening. And I don't maybe see if especially if Eris is still acting this way, I don't see Jasmine wanting to proceed. But on another hand, she may, because I know how she feels strongly about divorce. So moving on, Dominique meets with her mom, and her mom was like, I was excited to get to do the housewarming, and I'm so sad y'all didn't make it to the housewarming. I'm starting to think Dominique mom just wanted to be a part of this show, and Dominique was just a pawn for Dominique's mom to get on the show. That's what I'm thinking that it is boiling down to it this much. So Dominique is like, she said Dominique's mom said she was excited to try to get to know him better. She said he just started being too petty for her and bringing the energy, like he had negative energy. But Dominique, you got a lot of negative energy yourself. You need to check yourself. I hope once you see this show and you grow a little bit and get some more self-awareness, you'll see the negativity that you also had, because every time you was looking, you just always had like a negative outlook on everything. You were always coming at him about something, and you did not seem to want to compromise in the least. So, her mom urges and say, well, did you even give it time enough? She was like, well, she just went off her intuition and it just wasn't right. So, okay, hopefully, I don't want to hear no more from Dominique and McKinley at this point. It's like, it's a wrap. Let's just move on. So Clint and their friends, they end up having their housewarming party. He tells his friends that he's trying to take it slow and he just wants them to grow together. And Clint's friends encourage Gina, to not to be hyperly focused on the negative. Nothing much happened at their housewarming party. So now we're on day 17 of marriage. The couples, have a potluck together so they can catch up and see how each other is doing. So Matt says he wasn't too excited to, get with the couples because he was dreading to tell them, the state of their relationship. So Gina does give, as they're going around talking, Gina gives him Clint a compliment, says that he, meshed well with her friends, and she feels comfortable to have some of the salon people over, and Clint not having an issue with meshing with them. Again, we're at the salon. So Clint says he can't wait to dive deep and get to know Gina a little bit deeper, get to just to really hear the different stages of Gina and really get to know her. So that was good to hear. So then Matt blurts out, "Anybody having sex?" Like at this point, like Matt, I don't even know why you even care. Like you not. So why are you worried about what they doing? So anyways, Nicole and Chris confirm that they are, and Eris kind of makes a comment in the confessional saying, Chris and Nicole the only wife on the show that's getting her back blown out, and Jasmine thought that was like hilarious. Don't really know why, but okay. So Clint does ask Eris and Jasmine, if things are getting frisky with them. I guess he's asking Eris because Eris made a big deal about being a freak with his wife, and I guess that's why Clint is asking. Not really sure, but Jasmine like, no, nothing's going on, nothing's going on at all, nothing. And I'm just like, Jasmine, you are really frustrated. You are really annoyed. You need to have a sit down with Eris and you need to tell him how frustrated you are. And I don't know if you're saying that if you're saying it like when the cameras are not off, but I just don't want you to be like, I just want this. I want you to tell him you upset. I want you to tell him how annoyed you are with him because clearly you are, because the way she, responded, she was just like, ain't nothing going on, nothing. So Shaquille, kind of says, well, Kirsten wasn't attracted to me either. Now she can't keep her hands off my bald head. Shaquille, I don't know if you should have piped up at this time because your wife still don't really like you. So yeah, I mean, she may be okay to rub your bald head, but you ain't getting no kiss. You ain't getting no kiss, so I don't know how much you could really offer at this time, Shaquille. So you might want to just pipe down. So Mac ends up, they come to Jasmine and Matt. I'm not Jasmine. Dominique and Matt. And so Dom and Matt, and so Matt says, well, I lost my voice, but he says, Dom is the outspoken one, and what they wanted, and she knows what they want, and and so she has decided for them to get a divorce. So he basically throws it all on Dominique and said, Dominique has made this decision to get a divorce. He ain't had nothing to do with it. He wanted to move forward in his marriage. So they're, the couples are shocked. They're asking why. And Dominique says the negative energy, she wanted to cut it out before it got too toxic with them. And he says, the constant belittling in the honeymoon, the unwilling to compromise just wore him down. And I can agree because that's what we saw on camera. But Dominique on the after party just keeps saying that it was more to it. It was more to it. He also felt the same way that she did, but we didn't see any of that on camera. So I don't know. I don't know how much I believe Dominique at this point. So Clint wants them to stick it out. Kirsten, all of them were saying, don't give up. Nicole was like, if you do this now, you're going to regret it. So, Dominique was like, is there an option where you maybe can stay apart for a little bit and maybe come back together? So Dominique says maybe, and all the couples get to, so they cheers to maybe. So here's the couples just cheers to maybe, like, yay, she's thinking about it. But look at Dominique. Dominique ain't trying. She's like, yeah, maybe. McKinley's like, I think McKinley is a little shocked, but I don't know if it really fazed him. McKinley, I think he already know Dominique about on that bull. So Mac in his confessional says, the back and forth is just showing Dominique's immaturity, and I tend to agree. Again, this process just wasn't the best process for her. This wasn't what she needed to be doing. So back at the apartment, Dominique asked, what he thought about the get together, and he says it went as he expected it to go. And he asked, why she said maybe. She was like, well, it was just the peer pressure, and Nicole was looking at me, and she was like being so forceful, and so I just said maybe, but so he's like, so what's going on between me and you? And she was like, well, we could be friends. And McKinley was like, I'm not looking for no more friends. I don't need no new friends. No new friends. And so, Dominique was like, well, I would hate for anybody in Nashville to be walking around with hate in their heart for me. But I mean, it is what it is. This is an unfortunate turn of events. And in the words of Clint, this has been an unfortunate turn of events for this couple. So, Matt knows that Dom is young and really doesn't know what she wants. So it's just basically, he wished that, she would have gave it a little bit more time to see how things would have worked out. Honestly, Mac, I think on decision day, she would have said no regardless. Your housing situation was a turnoff. You not being the life of the party and want to jump up and do all type of different adventures. The fact that you don't fish, the fact that you don't, do a lot of the things that she deems as manly or something she wants in a man. She's just not into you. She's just not that into you. So she just ripped off the Band-Aid and just kept it moving earlier than waiting to decision day. So your fate would have been your fate, honestly. But I do think you're going to miss that apartment. You're going to miss that show. Being able to do things on the show and stuff. So I think that's what McKinley really was looking forward to as well. Quiet as it's kept. So this is basically the end of the episode. We kind of saw this coming, so I'm not really shocked at this whole Dominique McKinley thing. We're going to see how the other couples fare. Like I said in the previews, Chris and Nicole going to have a little situation with the weight. And of course, Airris is always Airrising. He's doing something that is very selfish, and about him. So I don't know. We're going to see how it goes on. And hopefully Shaquille can get a kiss from in one of these episodes. Hopefully Shaquille will get that kiss. So I have nothing else. So again, if you made it this far, if you enjoyed the content, if you enjoyed my review, go ahead and hit the like button. Get your girl in the algorithm. I'm trying to get monetized. So go ahead and hit the like button. If you know any other Married at First Sight fans, send them on my way, share this video with them, and don't forget to hit the notification bell so you'll be notified about all of my uploads and when they come out. But it's been a pleasure. I love talking to y'all. I like to, get my thoughts out. So comment down below. Let me know your feedback. I look forward to it. And then I'll see you all in the next video, and I will see you when I see you. Peace.